Today we're going to find the x and the y-intercept of a function, but this time we're going to look at the table of values. Now, before starting, let me remind you that the x-intercept and the y-intercept are points, and points need to have two coordinates, which are the x-coordinate and the y-coordinate. So let's start with the function to the left. We have y equal to 2x plus 2, and then we have the table of values. Let's start with the x-intercept. And remember that the x-intercept is the point where the function cuts the x-axis. And the only way to cut the x-axis is if we have the y-coordinate equal to 0. That means our point is going to be -1, 0. Now the y-intercept is the opposite, right? It's the point where the function cuts the y-axis, and the only way to cut the y-axis is if we have our x-coordinate equal to 0. So that means our point is going to be 0,2 in this case. Now for the second function, again, let's find the x-intercept first. And we said for the x-intercept we need to have the y-coordinate equal to 0. That means our point is going to be -4, 0. And the y-intercept, the opposite, right? Which means the x-coordinate has to be equal to 0, and that means our point is going to be 0, -2 in this case. And finally, the last function, again, we're going to find the x-intercept. So that means that our y-coordinate is equal to 0, which means this point, and the y-intercept, which means that our x-coordinate has to be equal to 0, which means this point, 0, -1. Now, just to make sure, we're going to take a look at the graphs and see if we are correct. And now, as you can see, the first function cuts the x-axis at -1, 0, which is correct, and then cuts the y-axis at 0,2, which is again correct. And now the second function should cut the x-axis at -4, 0, which again is correct, and it should cut the y-axis at 0, -2, which again is correct. Finally, the last function should cut the x-axis at 3, 0, which is correct, and it should cut the y-axis at 0, -1, which is again correct. Alright, so that's all for today. Thank you for watching.